Alright, boys and girls, today's math lesson is Topic 1, Lesson 3. It is on page 13 of your Math Volume 1 workbook. So if you need to pause the video to get your workbook out, you can go ahead and do that. At the beginning of each video, when I tell you what page number and topic and lesson we're doing, I also want to tell you our learning intention. So Mrs. Collier is going to start saying what our learning intention is. So today our learning intention with our lesson is I can solve problems by breaking the whole into parts. I can also reason about math. So those learning targets are what we should or can be able to do by the end of the lesson. So let's get started. So we're going to begin with the solve and share in our workbook on page 13. So like Mrs. Collier has said before in our other lessons, since we're not together in class, some of our problems are going to look a little bit different. So today it says Sarah has 5 pencils. She puts some in the green cup. She puts some in the red cup. How many pencils could be in each cup? Show how you solve. Then talk to a partner. Are your answers the same? So what we'll do for this one, we will just do this together. We will be each other's partners. So let's go back. I'm going to underline some important words in our question. So first it says she has 5 pencils. It says Sarah puts some in the green cup and some in the red cup. So boys and girls, if you want to do this when you come to any kind of question, I like to underline or circle important words, so when I begin working out the problem, I can go back and say, okay, what exactly is it asking me to do? What is my total number I started with? So then it asks, how many pencils could be in each cup? Well, if we go back and look at our question, it says that only some were put in the green cup and some were put in the red cup. So we've had one of these problems, I think, last week, where it doesn't give us an exact number, it just says she has some and some in each of the places. Boys and girls, you can use your pencil for this part. So I know that Sarah has 5 pencils, so what I do know is that in these 2 cups, I have to have a sum or total of 5 pencils. So we could do this a couple different ways. So one way I could do it, so it says Sarah puts some in the green cup. So I'll use my pen over here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'll draw 1, 2, because remember it just says some, it doesn't say how many, but I know there's a total of 5. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is one way that we could solve this problem because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pencils. So I put some in my green cup and some in my red cup. But boys and girls, you could do it some other ways as well. As long as you have 5 pencils in your answer choice, then that is correct. Another way we could do it, we could have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We could put 4 pencils and 1 pencil in the red cup. We could do it that way as well. But as long as you have 5 pencils in total, either of those ways or a different way that you find will be just fine. If you turn your workbook page over to workbook page 14, at the top of the page, it has our visual learning animation. So we are going to watch our video together, and I want you to just follow along with me.
How many penguins do you see?
Let's count how many penguins we see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 penguins.
There are 7 penguins.
Some penguins can go inside the cave and some can go outside the cave.
How many penguins are inside the cave? Select your answer.
All right, how many penguins are inside of our cave? 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 penguins in the cave.
There are 4 penguins inside the cave. How many penguins are outside the cave? Select your answer.
So these penguins, how many are outside of the cave? Let's count. There are 1, 2, 3 penguins outside of the cave.
There are 3 penguins outside the cave. You can write an equation to show the whole and the parts. What does the number 7 mean in the equation? It is the whole. What do the numbers 3 and 4 mean in the equation? They are the parts. Here is another way to show the 7 penguins. It has different parts, or groups of penguins, but has the same whole, or total number of penguins.
Drag the penguins inside and outside the cave to show different ways to make 7.
So here is inside the cave, and this picture is outside of the cave. So Mrs. Collier is going to drag penguins over, and it's going to make our equation. So I'm going to put some penguins inside of the cave, and notice that the number will change as I move my penguins. I'll put another one in the cave. Probably one more because I don't want it to be too crowded for them. So I have 3 penguins inside of the cave. So here we can see I have 3 penguins. And since I have no penguins outside of the cave yet, my total is also 3. But watch the number change when I put the penguins outside of the cave. So when I put the penguins outside of the cave, we saw 3 represents the part of the 3 penguins inside of the cave. The 4 represents the penguins outside of the cave, and the 7 represents the total number of penguins. On the same workbook page, so page 14, on our Convince Me, it says, with 7 penguins, could 4 be inside the cave and 4 be outside the cave? Why or why not? So let's think about this together. So if I were to have 7 penguins in total, edit that out. If I were to have 7 penguins in total, so I'm going to get some blocks to show this a little bit better. So if I have 7 penguins, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? So this is asking me, my convince me is asking me, could 4 be inside the cave and 4 be outside the cave? Why or why not? Let's see. If I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if these 4 penguins were inside of the cave, let's look how many are left. 1, 2, 3. So if I were to take those 4 penguins and put them inside of the cave, that would not leave 4 to be outside of the cave. Because if we were to add 4 plus 4, so either using our counters, our fingers, I would probably use my fingers to count out. So if I were to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm holding up 4 fingers. If I were to hold up 4 more fingers, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 plus 4 is 8. And if I only have 7 penguins, then that could not work. Answer, I would write, no, this would not work. 4 plus 4 equals 8. And Miss Collier just used her typing skill because it's just a little bit hard for her to write with her finger with the mouse. So you could say, no, 4 plus 4 equals 8, so this would not work. Or if you want to say what Mrs. Collier said, that is okay too. Now on the guided practice, which is still on workbook page 14, so still on the same page, it says how many penguins are inside and outside, and it's talking about inside or outside of this cave. 5 penguins in all. So 5 penguins in all. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is my total number of penguins. And it wants to know how many are inside of the cave and outside of the cave. So we saw this before. We've seen this question earlier when we had to make our own equation statement by putting some penguins in the cave and some penguins out of the cave. And it didn't tell us how many needed to go in each spot, either in or outside. We just knew that it had to equal the same total of number that we started with. So that is exactly what we're doing again. We're just doing that again. So if I have 5 penguins in all, I could put, let's see, 1, 2 penguins in the cave, and 1, 2, 3 outside of the cave. I could do that. So if you look down here, our equation statement is already filled in. So boys and girls, since it is written almost kind of backwards, I like to start by filling in the total number. So a 5, because we were given the total number, and that was all we were given when we started this. It said we had 5 penguins in all. So just trace this over with me. So we know 5 is equal to, and then our 3 would represent the number outside of the cave. So I'm going to write 3. Plus 2, and I 2, oh sorry, that's not pretty. 2 represents the number of penguins inside of the cave. So if we look at number 2 where it says 8 penguins in all, let me get my keys. So if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, oops, 7, 8. 8 penguins in all. I could put 1, 2, 3, 4 penguins inside of the cave and leave 1, 2, 3, 4 penguins outside of the cave. So when we write our equation, like I said before, I like to write my total number at the end, my total number of penguins I'm working with. And we won't always write equations like this. This is just for this lesson. We're going to be writing them a little bit backward. So if I have 8 penguins total, so Mrs. Collier put 4 penguins inside of the cave, and I added 4 more penguins outside of the cave. So I have 4 plus 4 equals 8. Now, boys and girls, when we get to independent practice, I want you to remember that sometimes there are more than 1 or 2 ways to add up numbers. For example, the number 8, it can be added up by 4 plus 4, but it could also be added up by 7 plus 1, or 6 plus 2, or 5 plus 3. All of those addition statements are still equal to 8. However, if you were going to write 5 plus 3 equals 8, that does equal 8, but your picture up here, you would have to have 5 penguins in and 3 penguins out, or you would just have to make sure whatever you drew up here or used up here matched this statement. Let's get started on the independent practice. So this is on page 15 in your workbook. The independent practice says how many bats are inside and outside. Use cube or draw a picture and then write the equation. I'm going to move my screen down just a little bit. Okay. I'm just going to use my pen for this one because the cubes take up a little bit of room. So you can just use your pencil. Okay, so for all of our equations on 3, 4, 5, and 6, we are talking about bats. All right, so boys and girls, like we just did together, if we look at number 3, it says there are 9 bats in all. So you can write the total here. So write 9 equals, and then what 2 numbers added together equal 9? What plus what equals 9? I'm going to write 9 here because I was told that is my total. So I know it's going to be 9 equals, because I have 9 bats in total. So boys and girls, this is your chance to decide how many bats are going to be inside and how many are going to be outside. The most important thing to remember is that however many bats are inside and outside, they have to equal 9. They have to equal 9. So there are a couple different ways you can add up different numbers to get the number 9. So if you need a counting chart, if you want to use your fingers or just use your pencil, let's say if I were going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm just making little dots. I'm not writing the actual number. So if I were to write 6 bats were inside, I have to get to the number 9. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Outside, it would have to be 7, 8, 9. So it would be 6 plus 3 gave me 9. Or as we would read it, it would say 9 equals 6 plus 3. And you can write the parts of the equation in whichever order, as long as these two numbers equal the total that was given to us. So for number 4, you have 8 bats in all. You are going to write number 8 equals, and then the two numbers that equal 8 equals, and then the two numbers you decide that equal to 5. And for number 6, you have 4 bats in total, so 4 equals, and then what two numbers added together are equal to 4. For the last page of our workbook, this is page 16. Page 16. Number 7 with our picture of a monkey. It says 8 monkeys in all. Some live in trees, some live on the ground. Show one way. So our equation is already set up for us. It says blank in trees plus blank on the ground equals blank monkeys. Well, it already told us we have 8 monkeys in all. So right after it says the equal sign, the total number of monkeys. So it already told us we have 8 monkeys in all. So now you are going to decide how many monkeys live in the trees and how many monkeys live on the ground. And whatever numbers you decide to add together, they have to equal 8. The same for number 8. It says Anna draws 2 cats. See, she draws 5 more cats. How many cats does she draw in all? So this equation, we do not have a total number, but we do have the parts. It's telling us she has 2 cats. She adds 5 more cats. So after she adds the 2 plus 5 cats, how many cats does that give us in all? Number 9 says Andy has 10 balls. 1 or 2 balls are inside of the toy box. Our question asks us, how many balls are outside of the toy box? So it wants you to write the equation for this question. So you could have 1 or 2 different answers because it tells us that either 1 or 2 balls are inside of the toy box. So we know that he had 10 to begin with. 1 of them might be somewhere else in the toy box, or 2 of them might be inside of the toy box. So if 1 of the 10 balls were inside of the toy box, how many would he have? Or if 2 of the 10 balls are inside of the toy box, how many would he have? Our last one, number 10, it says 9 birds in all. 9 birds in all. Some birds are flying. Some birds are in a tree. Which shows one of the ways? So, boys and girls, I want you to look at every answer choice before you decide. So, A says 4 are flying, 3 are in the tree. B says 5 are flying and 4 are in the tree. C says 1 is flying and 7 are in the tree. D says 8 are flying and 2 are in the tree. So remember, we have 9 birds in all. So whichever answer choice you decide, it has to add up the total sum of 9. So look at A. And when you add 4 plus 3, does that equal 9? When you add 5 plus 4, is that equal to 9? When you add 1 plus 7, is that equal to 9? And when you add 8 plus 2, is that equal to 9? So pay very close attention to that question.